Game week 5 will go down in history as one of the worst game weeks I've ever had as an FPL manager, with my overall rank dropping by over 500,000 places. However, in this video, I'm going to discuss exactly how I'm going to rectify these problems in my team, why I don't necessarily need a wildcard, and how I can help you improve your overall rank if you did have a bad game week. Because deep down, I quite enjoy these game weeks, so make sure you do drop a like on this video. Make sure you do smash that subscribe button. I'll say a massive thank you for getting the channel over 10,000 subscribers. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. So first up, we need to address the performance of these guys in game week 5 because it was a disaster, as I mentioned. 31 points. And realistically, only 2 players delivering in the team. Saka with the assist and Erling Haaland with the goal as captain. And that meant that my overall rank dropped from 220,000th to 883,000th in the world. A monster of a red arrow. And I know that resonates with a lot of people that are watching this video because it was a tough game week for a lot of FPL managers. If you didn't have Newcastle defense, if you didn't have Julian Alvarez, then you probably did have a bad game week. But I do applaud those that did have a great game week because what an amazing week it is to have a good game week. So on the face of it, it's been an absolute disaster for the game. But as I said, I quite enjoy these moments because, as I said, FPL for me is a game, and a game sometimes you want to have challenges, and this is one of these sort of game weeks where I look at it and think, okay, it's been a bad game week, but I'm excited to see how I can actually improve this team going forward to get myself those green arrows, and I'm so sure that this team is still going to finish in the top 10k. It's ridiculous. So the position my team is in right now is I have 2 free transfers, which is a really good situation to be in, and 1 million in the bank. And we need to discuss whether this team actually needs a wildcard or not, because some of you might be sat there thinking, oh, my team's quite similar to that, Nacho. Maybe I need to make a wildcard as well. Well, I'm going to touch on the players that I think are problems in this team, the watch list that I currently have for game week 6, and whether or not a wildcard is really needed for this team. Now, before we get into that section, I want to talk about a glimmer of hope for FPL managers. Now, I've currently got up a stats table here from Live FPL, and it looks at the points difference between your current rank and other ranks in the game. So, as I said, I'm currently 880,000th in the world. So, I'm currently 1 point away from being ranked 1 million. You can see that with a -1 there. However, if you look up the table and you look at the 500k, I'm only 7 points away from being 500,000th in the world, which really isn't that much of a difference at all. And if we look beyond that, the top 100k is only 23 points in the distance. So although the rank from 800k to 100k feels ridiculously big, it's only 23 points. So the difference isn't monstrous right now. If it was 50, if it was 60, which the gap between me and 1k is, that's a little bit of a stretch right now at this point of the season. But the gap between me and top 10k, top 100k is still well within the reach. And I'm not only talking about across the course of the season, but I'm talking about in the next 5 or 6 game weeks. I'm not ruling out me being in a situation where in 5 or 6 game weeks time, I will be in the top 100k. Come back to this part in the video later down the line. Now, am I going to finish number 1 in the world? It's going to be tough now because I am over 100 points away from that individual. And of course, clawing back each and every game week is going to be tough. But I thought this should just be a nice little table to bring up to give you guys a little bit of glimmer of hope if you have had a bad game week, that it is still very tightly congested. And a good game week from yourself can propel you up those overall ranks. Right then, so the big question for my team is it time to wildcard? And I want to address a couple of players that are problem players in my team, those that I think require me to potentially either do multiple free transfers or potentially activate the wildcard. So first up, the goalkeeper rotation has been a disaster. Pickford and Matt Turner has just not been the one. They've only kept 1 clean sheet over the opening 5 game weeks, and that was Matt Turner away against Chelsea, where pretty much nobody played him because Pickford had a better fixture that game week. So it's been a disaster. Now, the other problem, which they're not even delivering points, is that Matt Turner may lose his place later down the line. They've signed a new goalkeeper who is going to be direct competition for Matt Turner. Now, played in game week 5, and albeit he had a good game, I'm not necessarily saying that Turner is going to lose his place anytime soon, but the risk is there. And if we're going for this rotation goalkeeper strategy and we continue with it and Matt Turner loses his position, we're in a place where we just have to play Pickford week in, week out, and realistically, although he's doing wonders for Everton, Everton as a whole are a disaster of a team right now, and I don't feel confident on them keeping a clean sheet in any fixture whatsoever, even at home against Luton, for example. So the goalkeeper error is a problem for the team. However, right now, there aren't many teams keeping clean sheets at all. Believe it or not, there have only been 2 clean sheets by the top goalkeeper in the game right now, and one of those is Chelsea's Sanchez. So no team is really consistently keeping clean sheets week in, week out. Now, of course, we may get a goalkeeper that goes on a really nice run, keeping multiple clean sheets throughout. But right now, on the data that we're seeing and the performances of teams, I don't feel confident necessarily investing in any goalkeeper where I can sit here and say to you that they're going to deliver me a clean sheet every single week. So although the goalkeeper error is a problem, I don't deem it an absolute essential situation for me right now because the replacements aren't standing up. Now, an issue that has emerged in the last few game weeks is going to be Ben Chilwell. Now, he didn't start in game week 5, coming off the bench to the frustration of a lot of owners. And his minutes have been slightly managed over the last few game weeks with some early substitutions, which has started to raise a few red flags because, end of the day, he's been playing as a left winger in this Chelsea team. Pochettino's basically playing a back 3 with wing backs that then turns into a back 4 in attacking phases. And Chilwell is pushed forward into the winger position. Now, in game week 5, Mudryk played as the left winger, and Pochettino has said in a press conference that is Mudryk versus Chilwell. He doesn't see them both playing together in a system. So now Chilwell is basically being treated as a left winger. Is he just a massive rotation risk going forward? And that's the way that I'm looking at it right now. Yes, he was benched in game week 5. Yes, he could start in game week 6. But for me, a player that is just going to be a real big question mark going forward, and at 5.8 million, this is a cash cow in the team that could easily be switched over to a player that is guaranteed minutes, better fixtures, and maybe playing in a better defensive system. Now, the numbers for Chilwell are still good from an attacking perspective. I don't deny that whatsoever. And if he was to start in game week 6 at home against Aston Villa and he was to score or get an assist, I would not be surprised at all. But it's whether he does start and whether I actually back Chelsea as a team. And that's the big question right now because goal scoring is a problem in that system. So Chilwell's an issue, and because of his price point, he's a really easy cash cow to get to some of the other better defenders in the game, which I will touch on later on in this video. Now, alongside my goalkeepers and Ben Chilwell, I also have a few other issues in my current team. And one of those is going to be the Man United midfielders. I currently have the double up of Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. I didn't make that move in game week 5 to Son, which I'm quite glad to be honest with you, but also Man United were just pretty terrible in game week 5. Now, as individuals, I still like them as FPL options. Both Rashford and Bruno Fernandes are producing decent underlying numbers. Their expected goal involvement is still solid. Rashford being more of a goal threat, whereas Bruno is more of a chance creator in this team. The big problem for me is the general team is just not looking good right now. I don't know if they're playing for the manager and they simply aren't clicking as a team. Now, this may happen, and I think the big question right now is, do we put the trust in Ten Hag and Man United to improve as a team going forward? Because I think if they do improve as a team, these suddenly become really, really good FPL options. And with the fixtures coming up for Man United, they're actually quite good. Burnley away, Palace at home, Brentford at home, Sheffield United away. So I actually really like the next 4 fixtures for Man United, but can I trust them as a team? That is the big question, because if Ten Hag gets them going, suddenly these two become brilliant options. Now, the big question mark is, are there actually better midfielders in the game? We're not going to Man City because there aren't really any options available in the game right now. Liverpool rotation risks. I already have Bukayo Saka. I already have Maddison, and I'm not going to another Spurs asset. So the big question is, can I get Mo Salah into this team? Now, we're going to touch on Mo Salah in a minute, but is Mo Salah actually a better fixture pick over the next few? Liverpool have West Ham, followed by Tottenham and Brighton. One would argue those fixtures are actually trickier than that of Man United's, but I probably trust Liverpool way more over the next 3 to actually be clicking as a team. And even if they lost those games, fancy them scoring maybe 2 in each fixture. And Mo Salah probably will be at the heart of anything good in that Liverpool team. So can I get to Mo Salah. I'm going to discuss that in a minute, but I want to come on to another problem in my team, which is going to be Nicholas Jackson. Man, oh man, what a frustrating player he has been. Only 1 goal scored in the 5 league games that he's played, and he's played pretty much all of the minutes over this period. Now, if anyone watches him, he's doing okay. He's linking the game well. I think he's looked quite sharp, but his finishing is just a major problem. He's the biggest underperformer in the league. He has a 4.1 XG, and he's only scored 1 goal. So one would argue on another day you'd have 4 goals, and another would just argue that he's a bad finisher, and he never is going to achieve the underlying numbers that he is putting up right now. Now, Nicholas Jackson, if he continues to put these numbers up, I still get the argument of keeping him because he is eventually going to score, surely, and he is going to get that haul that we all talk about. But my big question mark is time running out for him? Armando Broja is returned to full training, and I expect him to be available for either game week 6 or game week 7. So this is a ticking time bomb right now. Nicholas Jackson has only really been in our teams this long because we know that he's going to play every single minute for Chelsea because their injury list is longer than my arm. But I think there is going to be a situation where we're going to come into Chelsea week in, week out thinking, is Jackson actually going to start this week? And that then becomes a huge problem. And with some other forwards available in the game, like Carlton Morris, like Alvarez, for example, this is the week to consider, do we trust him for 1 more week at home against Aston Villa, or is it time to really move over to another asset that we know can actually put the ball in the net? And I'm starting to think selling him might be the right move. So we spoke about the players that are a problem for my team. Let's look at the players that I want in my game week 6 squad, and these are all players that I probably would integrate into a wildcard team. If you are interested in a game week 6 wildcard team, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, as I will be dropping what I deem the best possible game week 6 wildcard draft in Wednesday or Thursday's video. So make sure you're subscribed and have that notification bell switched on. So first and foremost, Botman and Trippier. These are 2 assets that I really think are fantastic picks for game week 6 and beyond, especially for myself, who is a current Ben Chilwell owner. This is just the easy move for my side right now. Botman being the one that is cheaper at 4.5 million. He's a bit of a bonus point magnet as well, and I think he is going to play pretty much every fixture for them because he's the youngest of the bunch. Dan Burn, Trippier, and Fabian Schär all over 30. And I'm going to come on to that problem with that in a minute, but he is the kind of cheap option. I think he's great. Trippier, a bit more expensive, but I can afford him with the money in the bank. He offers the attacking returns. He's on set pieces, which is really good. Now, as a whole for Newcastle, the fixtures long-term are great. You can see them on your screens here. Sheffield United, Burnley, West Ham, Palace. And the underlying numbers for Newcastle as well, from a defensive perspective, are really good. So I feel confident investing in Newcastle as a team, knowing that they do have the potential to keep clean sheets. It's also worth noting they're slowly creeping up in the ownership for FPL managers. So if you don't go to them and they do continue to keep clean sheets, that is going to be a problem for your overall rank. So I feel like having 1 defender at least is a really shrewd move just to cover yourself off. Now, the big problem is the rotation risk with Champions League. They got Champions League midweek, then they got EFL Cup the following midweek, then they're back to Champions League. And as I mentioned, this Newcastle defence ain't any young bucks. They do have Livramento and Lewis Hall waiting in the wings. And would I be shocked if one of those was to step in one of these Premier League games to rest some of their veterans like Trippier, like Schär? I would say no. And that is why I think Botman at 4.5 might just be the route to go for. Going to leave money in the bank to invest elsewhere in the squad, especially if we are targeting someone like a Mo Salah. Yes, I love Trippier. He is the best option, but with that slight potential rotation, maybe it might be worth just going for Botman there. But let me know your thoughts in the comments on that one. The other one that I just absolutely love, and I wish I had from game week 1, is going to be Mo Salah. Now, 12.5 million, he is a tough buy for our FPL teams because if we're still going to keep Erling Haaland, getting Mo Salah in our teams is very, very difficult. So, why do I like buying him for game week 6? Well, you're getting ahead of the crowd before game week 9 because you can see with the fixtures here, West Ham, Spurs and Brighton aren't the best fixtures on paper. However, I would fancy Liverpool to score in all of these games. And then come game week 9, Everton at home, Forest at home, Luton away. Now, spoiler alert, I know there's a lot of FPL managers that are planning on wildcarding in game week 9, and they are all going to get Mo Salah. You can't not get Mo Salah if you wildcard in game week 9. So you're going to be moving a little bit ahead of the crowd, and you might have that opportunity just to pick up some differential points over the next 3 game weeks. And if you're wildcarding right now, you absolutely have to get Mo Salah in your team. The numbers are great from an actual output perspective and underlying numbers perspective. The only problem, it does require a 4-point hit for my current team, as I don't have the money in the bank to simply go up from Bruno Fernandes to Mo Salah. I would have to make quite a few downgrades in other areas to free up the funds, and it would require a -4. But realistically, if I was to buy Mo Salah in game week 6, I would not regret it at all, as I would fancy him to play pretty much every minute between now and game week 11. We know his returns are just clockwork in that system. Now, the players that I'm considering for Nicholas Jackson replacements include Carlton Morris and Julian Alvarez. Both have their pros and cons. Now, Carlton Morris at 5.5 million means that I save significant money in the bank. And looking at the fixtures, game week 6 are great. Game week 7 is a double, which is fantastic. The problems: subbed early in game week 5 when they were chasing a goal, which isn't really a good thing, and that starts to question, is he actually the talisman of this side, or maybe the manager's going to be looking at rotating him at time to time. Not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just saying that isn't a good sign. And the thing about it as well is you're going to want to transfer him out straight away come game week 8, because at 5.5 million, you just can't afford to be benching him from game week 8 onwards. You probably want to downgrade him to a Cameron Archer to free up additional funds to invest elsewhere. And for that reason, I look at the double in game week 7, I look at it in game week 6 and think, is he really worth bringing in? He is, at the end of the day, a Luton forward. Do I expect Luton to score away against Everton? I don't even know if I do. And then at home against Burnley, what are we expecting? Maybe a goal from Carlton Morris at best. So I look at those fixtures and think, yeah, he does have an additional game, but are they even worth investing in, knowing that he is a definite transfer out come game week 8? Now, the reason why I'm in an eye about Carlton Morris is because Julian Alvarez is just looking too damn good and irresistible. He started every league game, played pretty much every single minute. Consistent FPL returns. Now, what I will say is the numbers in terms of underlying numbers haven't actually been amazing. As we know, everything funnels through Erling Haaland. So everybody around Erling Haaland is going to have much less underlying numbers in terms of appeal. They're never going to have the numbers of Erling Haaland because they still funnel everything through him. But he is starting every game for Man City in an attacking position. And with the fixture in game week 6 at home against Nottingham Forest, it is just so hard to resist that game. Now, I've put on here Champions League and early team news because those are two things we need to consider. Champions League midweek, if Alvarez doesn't start in that game, Alvarez is in for me. I need to buy him for that Nottingham Forest game, and I will happily downgrade Jackson to him. But also, with the deadline being 1:30 p.m. UK time and Man City being the 3 p.m. kickoff, there is a very, very high possibility we will get early team news on Man City. And if we do, and we get confirmation that Alvarez is going to play, then that is just going to lock in a lot of FPL managers' transfers. So it's a reason why I'm not desperate to bring him in right now, because I feel like we could get a lot of concrete evidence closer to the deadline. But of the two, Alvarez just has to be the one in my eyes. So looking forward to game week 6, this is how the current team is looking. And I want to say as well, what I didn't mention is Nicholas Jackson is also on 4 yellow cards. So if he gets yellow card against Aston Villa, he will be suspended for game week 7, which probably is just going to be the icing on the cake for him as an FPL option. Now, as I said, 2 free transfers available, 1 million in the bank. And we've discussed the problems in this team in depth. Do I think this team requires a wild card? My answer is going to be no. I just don't see enough where I want to pull the wild card on this team. I still want Haaland. I still don't mind having some Man United coverage. I like Saka, and Mbeumo looks great this week. Estupiñán, Ruben Diaz if he does start, and the goalkeepers I just don't know where I'd go with. And because I have 2 free transfers available to myself, I think that's enough to justify me just going for the free transfer route rather than the wildcard strategy. Now, it pains me to say it, but I don't know if I could squeeze Mo Salah into this team right now. I think it's just a little one step too far for my current squad, but I don't put off anybody doing it from their own perspective. Now, looking at the transfers that I would make, this is most likely how the team would go. I would probably go for Ben Chilwell to Botman. I feel like that is just an obvious route to go for. And then selling into Julian Alvarez from Nicholas Jackson. And it will give me a squad looking like this, which I feel like when I look at this definitely doesn't need a wild card in the face of it. Double Man United, yes, I would love Mo Salah there at home against West Ham, but away against Burnley, I still fancy him to score in that fixture. I might be being a little bit optimistic there. I might be being delusional FPL manager, but I really do think that this team could bounce back from that terrible performance in game week 5. So that is the plan, guys. Chilwell the Botman and Jackson to Julian Alvarez, using my 2 free transfers and hoping this team saves me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Does it need a wildcard? Yes, guys, okay, so that's going to wrap up today's video. I really hope it has provided some hope for your team and also giving you a little bit of an idea of maybe what you should be doing with your FPL transfers. I just want to say a massive thank you once again for getting the channel to 10k. I can't really believe it, so honestly, I'm just massively thankful to every single one of you. If you can drop a like on the video, that'd be amazing. And if you aren't already a subscriber, please do consider doing so, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Cheers.